They uncovered Solomon's secret wisdom that could change everything for the future. Few knew what truly happened that night, deep in the heart of Jerusalem. A whisper lingered through the darkened alleys, swirling like the biting wind that sent shivers down spines. Solomon, the king renowned for his unmatched wisdom, had left behind secrets riddled with enigma and allure. A flickering candle illuminated the sacred chamber where ancient scrolls lay hidden, dust thick as fog. The air was heavy with anticipation. Shrouded in silence, men gathered, eyes wide with an unquenchable thirst for knowledge. They spoke in hushed tones, speaking of miracles, tales of water turned into the finest wine. Of a child's life saved by mere words whispered through the ages. In that dim light, Solomon's wisdom pulsed like a heartbeat, echoing through the centuries. The scrolls whispered of dreams, powerful visions that cleave through the veils of time. Solomon had asked for understanding, and he received it, gifts unseen by mere mortals. But what was the price? Some wondered if the wisdom led to power or peril. Was he chosen by God, or was there a darkness lingering beneath the surface of his brilliance? As the men read on, tension thickened. They discovered a riddle concealed within the verses, threads of truth woven with lies. Each revelation ignited both fear and hope. What if Solomon's wisdom could not only guide their futures but also doom them? They hesitated, hearts pounding, grappling with the gravity of the moment. This was no ordinary deciphering. It was a dance on the edge of fate. The shadows of doubt crept closer, and one brave soul dared to break the silence, asking what they were willing to sacrifice to uncover the truth. Eyes darted between the scrolls and each other, weighing the consequence of knowledge. What would they awaken? Their hearts raced. The night pressed heavy with the scent of mystery and the taste of fear. What if Solomon's wisdom held within it the key to their redemption or their ruin? With unresolved tension buzzing in the air, they held their breath, uncertain of what lay ahead. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the candle's wavering flame illuminated the chamber with its soft glow, the air grew heavier with the weight of what they discovered. The ancient scrolls contained references not only to the wisdom Solomon had gained but also to the trials that came with it, prophecies entwined like vines around the roots of their history. It spoke of decisions that shaped a kingdom and choices that turned allies into foes. How could one man's quest for knowledge have such profound implications? One of the men, Eliab, whose voice carried a tremor of trepidation, broke the reverent silence once more. What do we do with this? Is it meant for us? Or are we cursed by our desire to know? His brow furrowed, the flicker of the candle reflecting the fear etched on his features. The others looked from Eliab to the scrolls, their hungry curiosity now tempered with caution. They had sought wisdom, and yet, they stalled at the precipice of discovery. Another voice, firm and steady, emerged from the shadows. It was Azariah, acknowledged for his blessing of insight. If Solomon's wisdom is as potent as we believe, we must embrace our responsibilities. Knowledge without application is merely a burden. We have to discern its purpose. His words hung in the air, mandatory and yet filled with uncertainty. The burden of wisdom often comes cloaked in doubts. They collectively turned their gaze to the unraveling scroll, a riddle slowly coiling into form. The ink, faded yet emphatic, recited a phrase that echoed Solomon's deep introspection. The heart of a king can lift a kingdom or shatter it beneath despair. Questions swirled like autumn leaves caught in a tempest. Who would rise to bear the weight of such responsibility? As they pondered deeper, the scroll unveiled Moriah prophecy, not just about Solomon, but a warning for those who would follow. A trail of betrayal shrouded in glory, a friend turned adversary, whispering words that ignited doubt against the tapestry of loyalty. For every ounce of wisdom, there lay an instance of choice that twisted destinies in unseen ways. What if they too had the power to change their paths, to weave a brighter fate from the strands of solitude and whispers? But what cost would such choices demand? Each man felt the echo of his own heart, thundering against the uncertainty of their future. Would wisdom themselves become adversaries to their ambitions? Outside the walls, the city of Jerusalem lay wrapped in the embrace of darkness, a heartbeat away from the flickering hearts of its inhabitants. Unbeknownst to them, the secret of Solomon was on the brink of revelation, poised to ripple through generations. Would the light of understanding illuminate their futures or plunge them further into shadows? The men deliberated, fear and excitement colliding like waves upon rocky shores. They knew that trusting in their hearts and minds was vital, yet the riddles of the scroll felt like a haunting melody, beautiful yet melancholic, promising life yet fraught with peril. What if light and darkness are but two sides of the same coin? Azariah pondered aloud, igniting a spark of reflection among the others. Would they confront the looming specter of uncertainty, or would they retreat into obscurity, letting wisdom slip through their fingers like sand? The chamber was silent once again, each man wrestling with the question of purpose and choice. Was destiny a path they forged, or were they destined to wander in circles, repeating the mistakes of those before them? As the candle flickered once more, casting long shadows upon the walls, they contemplated the journey ahead, knowing that answers awaited but also that the consequences of seeking might be greater than they dared to imagine. Would they be ready to face whatever lay beyond the threshold of Solomon's wisdom? As the candle dimmed and the tendrils of smoke curled toward the ceiling, a hush fell over the gathering. The weight of the scrolls pressed heavier upon their thoughts, and their breaths became synchronized, a quiet acknowledgement of the gravity of their task. Eliab closed his eyes, trying to quiet the tumult within, while Azariah leaned closer to the scroll, his heart racing as it began unfolding further revelations. With a heart full of questions, Azariah read aloud again, "The king's heart is where the greatest battles are fought, loyalty intertwined with ambition can birth untold ruin." The others remained silent, contemplating this stark duality. Was loyalty a fortress or a snare? Could their dreams to wield Solomon's wisdom lead them to illuminate the world or plunge them into chaos? What if this is our warning, not just the king's? Eliab finally ventured, eyes wide with realization. What if we become like those before us, driven not by wisdom but desire? Are we prepared to face not only the light of understanding but also the darkness it might unveil? Each man felt the echo of ancient histories resound within him, tales passed down through generations of betrayal and triumph. Solomon's court, once resplendent with knowledge, had been rife with intrigue and treachery, shadows lurking beneath the surface of each esteemed figure. Eliab's instincts warned him of the seductive nature of power. Would they be able to remain true amidst the tide of temptation? As if responding to Eliab's thoughts, the candle flickered once more, casting an ethereal glow that danced across the chamber, illuminating faces struck by contemplation. "The scroll speaks of a missing key," Azariah remarked suddenly, his voice steady yet intense. "It alludes to a decision, an act of courage that can alter the course of fate. What if the knowledge we seek demands a sacrifice?" An uneasy stillness enveloped them as the implications of Azariah's words settled like dust in the air. Was there a personal cost to be paid for Solomon's legacy? Would their pursuit of wisdom and understanding require them to confront inner demons? The scroll hinted that the path would unveil deeper truths, but at what price? They were mere seekers in a landscape drenched in uncertainty, yet the yearning for clarity propelled them forward. Each man began to share his understanding, piecing together the fragments of the message within the scroll. Stories of moments when their honesty was tested, when doubts crept into the mind, like shadows weaving through a tightly woven tapestry. Each decision birthed a reality, both beautiful and painful. "What if our fears shape us as much as our actions do?" one of the men quietly questioned, glancing around the chamber. Each pair of eyes reflected the flickering flame, mirroring the inner struggle of battling conviction against the fear of failure. As their discussion deepened, the air grew thick with unanswered questions, revealing threads connecting their souls to the struggles of many preceding them. Would they dare to pounce upon the ambiguity, to wrestle with what lay beyond understanding? Or would they choose to remain in a state of comfortable ignorance, guarded against the churning tides of wisdom's challenges. Outside, the darkening skies hung low over Jerusalem, an ominous canvas that echoed the turmoil of their hearts. As rumors flowed through the streets like rippling water, they unknowingly carried the weight of truth's impending arrival. What change awaited them at the dawn of understanding, and what sacrifices loomed on the horizon of their newfound journey? The echoes of their deliberation hung palpably in the air, heavy with revelations yet to come. As they sat in the flickering glow, each man recognized the stirring within them, a resolve forged from the fear of repeating the past, healers of a broken lineage seeking the threads that might stitch their destinies anew. But deep in their core, beneath the hope of a brighter path, a darker question loomed: would these newfound choices lead to genuine transformation, or would they, like their ancestors, fall prey to the labyrinth of their own hearts, lost in the pursuit of wisdom? The flames settled into a steadier glow, and the shadows that danced upon the walls seemed to beckon with tales untold. Each man, anchored in thought, gazed at the scroll like a traveler eyeing a distant shore. What land awaited beyond their humble intentions and fears? With each heart poised for discovery, the encounter with the sacred knowledge loomed large, its weight mingling with anticipation. Eliab, driven by a growing urgency, broke the silence again. What if the scroll holds a key not just to knowledge, but to the very essence of our being? The words speak of a transformative act, a decision to embrace not only the glitter of wisdom but also the weight of humility. Are we ready to confront what we truly are? Azariah nodded, feeling the swell of courage rise within him. To face our shortcomings is to step into the light of understanding. We must reconcile our ambitions with our deeds, for knowledge without integrity can become a perilous sword. His words hung in the air, pressing upon each heart with a gentle yet insistent challenge. As they contemplated the price of wisdom, the outside world felt distant, the pulse of the city beneath them a mere whisper compared to the thunderous call of fate unfolding in that moment. Remember the parable of the two builders, one of the men interjected, his voice quiet yet firm. One built upon the sand and the other upon the rock. The storm came, and only the foundation that was true stood firm. How might our words and actions set the groundwork for our endeavors? Are we laying our foundation in the shifting sands of desire, or on the unwavering rock of truth? An air of reverence enveloped the men as they acknowledged the gravity of their quest. What would it mean to build their lives on authenticity, to pursue wisdom with a foundation of integrity that could withstand any storm? Each one grappled with the vision they held of themselves, the roles they desired to play for their people, weighed against the reality of their fears and failures. Suddenly, a sharp gust of wind rattled the window panes, a reminder from the heavens perhaps, urging them to tread carefully on the cusp of revelation. Eliab inhaled deeply, feeling the quiet thrill of divine presence. In this journey, we must not only seek the wisdom of Solomon but become vessels of a higher truth. Let us open ourselves to the possibility that what we unearth may challenge us more than we anticipate. As the session progressed, they shared hushed stories of their own aspirations, painted with the color of doubt and frailty. Each man revealed a hidden struggle, a shadow that lurked behind their noble intentions. Conversations ebbed and flowed like the tide as they delved deeper into their motivations, questioning what was driving their desire for wisdom. Was it simply the thirst for knowledge, or did they crave the power that came alongside enlightenment? Yet, even as courage intertwined with vulnerability, an unease thrummed beneath their skin. What if the truth turned out to be too heavy to bear? The scroll teased at the edges of their resolve, urging them onward while whispering inklings of impending sacrifice. Would the unveiling of wisdom require more than just introspection? Were they prepared to confront past choices that echoed through generations? As the flicker of the candle danced, drawing their gaze once more, Eliab raised a final question. What if to truly embrace this wisdom, we must willingly step into the unknown? Are we prepared to meet not just the light of knowledge, but the shadows that accompany it, a necessary reckoning with ourselves and the legacies we carry? The air thickened with anticipation, their hearts racing in unison against the backdrop of uncertainty. They stood upon the threshold of an unveiling yet to come, with the flickering flame offering safety for those brave enough to peer beyond its glow. Each man felt a swell of purpose alongside a lingering apprehension. Was the pursuit of Solomon's legacy truly a calling to greatness or merely a doorway to the darkness they hoped to escape? With the all-consuming weight of their deliberation heavy upon them, they realized the path was far from clear, yet a single spark of awareness ignited their spirits. Would they discover that wisdom is truly a double-edged sword, demanding both courage and sacrifice, or would the promise of understanding merely lead them into an unforgiving abyss? The candle's flame flickered once more, drawing their eyes to the edges of the room, where the shadows seemed to stretch and quiver with the weight of their musings. Eliab's question hung in the air like incense, saturating the space with a mixture of hope and trepidation. The room felt both sacred and foreboding, beckoning them to delve deeper into the mysteries of the scroll. Azariah leaned forward, his brow furrowed. Indeed, what lies in the depths of Solomon's words might not only invoke change in our hearts but can also beckon dark reflections of our lives. What if the pursuit of wisdom reveals not just the grand design of our lives, but the cracks in our facades? A heavy silence cloaked the room as they absorbed his words. The possibility of facing untold truths felt both daunting and necessary. Each man could feel the pulse of their collective history intertwined with dreams yet haunted by regrets. The scroll they contemplated had a presence, like a forgotten ancestor returning to demand attention. What legacy did it carry not just for them, but for generations yet to come? You speak the truth, an older voice broke through the silence. It was Caleb, his experience etched in the lines on his face. We may find that what we seek implicates us more than we have prepared to acknowledge. Wisdom may call for the shedding of our pretenses, revealing a self that we have long hidden from the world and even from ourselves. As the word settled, Eliab felt a surge of fear. Could we truly be ready for such unveiling, ready to confront narratives that may condemn us? For many, wisdom means authority or significance, yet what if it merely highlights failures past? What if our desire for understanding leads us to the very edge of despair? Caleb nodded somberly. Yes, and in seeking Solomon's wisdom, we may very well acquire the responsibility that accompanies it. Therein lies the essence of our endeavor, to engage with the complexity of our truths, not merely the simplicity of knowledge. Are we prepared for the answers that may compel us to act in ways we previously resisted? Their gazes turned to the scroll, now looming larger than life, whispering enigmatic secrets only discernible to hearts willing to undergo turmoil. The air felt potent with possibilities, and each man found himself grappling with parallel visions, what they wished to learn against what they feared to discover. I think of the moment when Solomon stood before the divine, compelled to choose his path, Azariah said softly, his voice steady yet introspective. What profound weight must have rested on his shoulders to accept the calling of kingship? In choosing wisdom over wealth, did he, too, face the shadows of his own choices? Might there have been consequences unbeknownst to others? Such is the essence of seeking, Eliab replied, emboldened. We yearn for the light but must tread carefully with each step, knowing the shadows are as much a part of the journey as the radiance we seek. Perhaps this uncertainty is a divine invitation, calling us to unravel not only the mysteries of the scroll but of our own souls. They nodded, feeling the gravity of his words resonate. The pursuit of wisdom was not just about acquiring knowledge of the world, it demanded the exploration of their very essence. Perhaps the scroll served not merely as a guide, but as a mirror, reflecting the sum of their humanity, wrought with frailty yet luminous with potential. As they sat enveloped in contemplation, Eliab's heart quickened with a new thought. What if, in the end, the scroll speaks not only of Solomon's wisdom but of the wisdom that can be birthed from our failures? Could the shadows we see upon ourselves give rise to a deeper understanding, a beauty wrought not from perfection but from the genuine struggle of being human? The men turned inward, their thoughts dancing on the cusp of illumination. The scroll was not merely pages inscribed with ancient knowledge, it was a path leading into the labyrinth of their souls, urging them to uncover the wisdom buried deep within their scars. Yet questions remained. Would the transformation they anticipated bring liberation or merely deepen their burdens? As they prepared to delve into the words within the scroll, they found themselves standing at the precipice of revelation, caught between the pursuit of wisdom and the embrace of vulnerability. Did they have the courage to interrogate their legacies and to acknowledge the unseen shadows within? What awaited them on the other side of this sacred endeavor might change everything, but would they be able to bear the weight of that truth? The flame of the candle danced low, casting long serpentine shadows against the walls, which seemed to pulsate with an unseen energy. The air thickened with expectation, as if even the heavens held their breath, waiting for the secrets contained within Solomon's scroll to be unveiled. Steeling himself, Eliab rose, his fingers brushing against the aged parchment. The scroll, weathered yet resilient, emitted a soft warmth that matched the fervor burgeoning in his chest. "Let us turn the first page and embark on this journey together," he declared, his voice now resonating with an uncommon conviction. With a shared nod, Azariah unrolled the scroll, revealing elegant inscriptions in flowing characters. They began to read aloud, each word steeped in gravity, weaving a tapestry of old tales, proverbs, and riddles, tales of kings and beggars alike, woven with truths both timeless and unsettling. "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom," Azariah recounted, the familiar saying serving as an anchor amidst their tension. What does it mean, I wonder, to fear the Lord? Is it a reverence that shields us from folly, or a prospect that paralyzes us with dread? Caleb's eyes sparkled with intrigue. In our desire to behold such wisdom, can we reconcile our human frailty? Does fear compel action, or does it only incite despair? Must we find an equilibrium between reverence and love, lest we aimlessly drift into shadows? As they continued to read, profound pieces of wisdom crystallized in their hearts. Yet, every truth seemed to surface not just external lessons, but resonated with the deep yearnings and fears buried within each man. They read of discernment, the pursuit of justice, and, inevitably, the complexities of envy and pride. Eliab offered a passage, in the words of the wise, "As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another." A metaphor rich with potential, yet they couldn't help but wonder, who would face the sharpening? Who amongst them would endure the process of friction and refine their very being, a prospect daunting and exhilarating in its promise, yet, amid the illumination, shadows flickered alongside. Is there a hidden consequence to wisdom? Azariah pondered aloud. Could Solomon's wisdom, admired and revered, harbor a seed of self-doubt or lament within itself? The agony of this query struck a chord within them, it echoed like a drumbeat, urging deeper inquiry. Caleb leaned back, his gaze fixed somewhere beyond the scroll, lost in contemplation. Imagine, then, the weight of Solomon's decisions when wielding such knowledge. Each judgment passed was layered with the complexities of human nature. How much sorrow did his wisdom cause? How often did the right choice leave a trail of broken relationships? A collective silence overtook them, the shadows lurked closer now. The realization sank heavy in their hearts that wisdom is never without cost, and in their quest to understand, they were beckoned to confront not only their potential but their failings as well. How often do we dismiss the narratives of failure as unworthy of our attention? Eliab finally voiced, recalling his earlier thoughts. Might we find clarity not in the wisdom of triumph alone, but in stories that weave our scars into a holistic understanding of who we are? If wisdom is intertwined with our struggles, what does it mean for those willing to look through the lens of vulnerability? With furrowed brows and earnest hearts, they exchanged glances, sensing that the scroll was inviting them deeper still. What began as a quest for knowledge transformed into a crucible demanding authenticity and acknowledgement of their pasts. As they turned another page, Caleb caught a glimpse of a cryptic phrase written in elegant, sweeping letters: "The wise are not esteemed for the depth of their knowledge but for their willingness to bear the truths of their existence." With his heart racing, Eliab posed a question that hung tangibly in the air: are we prepared to stand in the light of our own knowledge and yet embrace the darkness of our truths? Are we willing to bear the weight of our stories, not as burdens but as foundational parts of our quest for wisdom? As the candle flickered yet again, they realized that their inquiry into Solomon's wisdom was more than just a search for insight, it was a confrontation with their own reflections. Each revelation mystified them further. The scroll had become more than a scripture, it was a testament to the human experience, beckoning them towards enlightenment through the acknowledgement of their shadows. What awaited them in the depths of those words? In seeking Solomon's wisdom, might they uncover answers that lead them into uncharted territories of their own souls? Would they emerge transformed or more confounded than before? As the soft flicker of the candlelight cast a warm glow upon their faces, Eliab's question lingered in the air, wrapping around the four men like a shroud. The flickering shadows seemed to conspire with the scroll itself, urging them deeper into its mysteries. The moment felt weighty, pregnant with both potential and uncertainty, as if time had still to listen. They had initially come in search of wisdom, yet now, with every word unraveled, it became ever clearer. Wisdom was laden not only with truths but with choices, decisions that echoed far beyond their own lives. Eliab's heart raced, the weight of self-examination pressing heavily upon him. The realization stirred something deep within. Wisdom was not a prize to be won, but a fragile fire requiring nurturing and care. With renewed urgency, they delved onward. Page after page, they uncovered tales from Solomon's reign, rich in parables and poignant lessons. In one passage, they read of a bitter dispute between two women, each claiming to be the mother of a child. Solomon, with remarkable judgment, devised a test, proposing to divide the child in two, revealing the true mother through her desperate plea to spare her son's life. "Look," Azariah exclaimed, in that moment, a wise king revealed the inner truth of love, a clarity born from the depths of human despair. Caleb folded his arms, pondering the implications. Yet what of the truth hidden beneath the surface? Does wisdom always rest in the visible realm, or is there deeper understanding waiting just out of sight? Can one truly know love without experiencing loss? A silence enveloped them, a collective contemplation of the hidden layers of wisdom. Would they need to confront their darkest fears to illuminate the paths ahead? Did the pursuit of wisdom demand they look further into their hearts, facing the untold stories of their lives that lay buried beneath the facade of strength? As Eliab read on, his eyes widened at Solomon's reflections on wealth and power. "Better is a handful of quietness than 2 hands full of toil and a striving after wind," he murmured, recalling the cacophony of ambition they often lived amidst. How often do we forsake true peace for the clamor of desire? What cost does this come with? Azariah's brow furrowed in deep thought. In our age, we chase success and accolades, believing they will fulfill us. Could it be that this endless pursuit blinds us to the quietness that Solomon speaks of? What treasures lie in simplicity, things we cannot quantify? Their hearts grew heavier in acknowledgement of their distractions, the weight of modern expectations pressing sorely against their spirit. They were confronted with the unnerving notion that some forms of wisdom were unbearably challenging. Was it possible they had been fleeing from stillness, the very sanctuary of introspection? Eliab began to question the intent behind their journey. What if the wisdom we are seeking was not only about what we can know or control, but rather what we must learn to surrender? A brief thought, yet potent, flickered among them. The scroll held truths that felt like a weight pressing upon their spirits. The truth of surrender carried the promise of liberation, draped in uncertainty. They realized that in every tale recited within these scrolls, the hidden element was not simply what Solomon had discerned but how he had acted in moments of desire, loss, and vulnerability. Each reading wove them deeper into the fabric of their own humanity, and the path ahead began to feel as uncertain as it was illuminating. If wisdom was intertwined with surrender, what would they need to relinquish to gain what they sought? The candle flickered, and shadows danced anew upon the walls, casting forms that appeared both familiar and yet unknown. "Where do we stand in this search?" Caleb asked softly, his voice penetrating the thickening silence. "What readiness must we embrace to discover the wisdom hidden within our trials?" Their hearts were open but suspended in tension. The scroll was asking for an unraveling not only of its text but of the soul there. Vulnerabilities now exposed through the mirror of Solomon's legacy. As the candle threatened to extinguish, Eliab reflected on a foundational question more profound than any proposition they'd read. Will the secrets we discover guide us to a deeper understanding of ourselves, or merely serve as a reflection of the masks we wear? Disquiet grew among them as the scroll beckoned them further into the labyrinth of wisdom, thrumming with the energy of the truths yet to be unfolded. Would they emerge wiser or simply more aware of the shadows they had avoided? What awaited them within the folds of Solomon's wisdom, and could they bear the weight of it as they continued their journey? As the candle's flicker danced in the waning light, a thin veil of urgency hung in the air. Eliab, gripping the scroll with trembling hands, sensed there was more beneath the surface waiting to be unearthed. What if there are other parables, he pondered aloud, hidden within these pages, that speak not just of kings and kingdoms, but of the very nature of our souls? The others leaned in closer, unspoken agreements exchanged in the glimmers of their gazes. Each man felt the heartbeat of a common quest, the longing to understand deeper truths that transcended time. With newfound resolve, Caleb encouraged, "Let us continue our readings, for wisdom in its purest form often emerges in the quiet hum of the whispers of the past." As Eliab turned pages, revealing stories of wisdom and folly, they stumbled upon the tale of the Queen of Sheba, who traveled vast distances seeking the knowledge of Solomon. She arrived with questions unnumbered, Eliab read. Her curiosities were insatiable, and with them, she brought gifts of gold and spices. But it was not wealth that drew her, it was the yearning to understand the intricacies of wisdom itself. "Isn't it remarkable," Azariah interrupted thoughtfully, "that even royalty felt the call to seek knowledge? What do we hold back in our own lives? What gifts has each of us brought to this table, and what questions do we truly carry in our hearts?" A silence followed, a moment of collective introspection, their thoughts entangled with memories and unspoken dreams. They recognized the importance of inquiry, the willingness to engage with the unknown. Could it be that strength lay not in certainty but in the courage to ask profound questions? Caleb resumed reading, the weight of the scroll making evident the significance of every syllable. "And when the queen beheld the wisdom of Solomon, she was left breathless, declaring, 'The half was not told me.'" Eliab's eyes gleamed. "What depths of understanding lie before us that we have yet to even glimpse, but what of our own perceptions?" murmured Azariah. "How often do we restrict our horizons with the boundaries of our experiences? Could it be that the greatest revelations remain just beyond our grasp because we are not willing to leave the familiar?" Then, a thought struck Eliab with great intensity: might there be wisdom in knowing that understanding is an endless pursuit? That even a king recognized his limitations? What if wisdom truly transcends knowledge, existing as a journey rather than a destination? Suddenly, a draft whispered through the room, extinguishing the faint candlelight for a fleeting moment. A chill passed amongst them, and it felt as though the world had shifted imperceptibly. In that darkness, Eliab's mind raced with a pressing realization: were they ready to embrace the discomfort of uncertainty inherent in this quest? And could they hold on to the flicker of hope that wisdom would illuminate their paths anew? As the candle reignited glowing softly once more, Eliab broke the silence: "Perhaps the deeper question isn't only what wisdom lies before us, but what barriers we must dismantle within ourselves to receive it. To become vessels for understanding, we must be willing to unlearn, to shed our assumptions." Caleb nodded, "and in our vulnerability, we might find the true strength held in connection. Like the queen whose heart was open to learning, we must dare to believe that there is always something more to discover about others and ourselves. What sacrifices must we be willing to make in pursuit of such knowledge?" In that moment, the air felt different, charged with possibility and uncertainty. The scroll, overflowing with divine wisdom, seemed to beckon them deeper. Eliab felt the weight of the questions that remained. Would their journey lead to self-discovery through the lens of wisdom and love, or would they uncover harsher truths that could shatter their perceptions? As they continued their exploration, shadows danced around them like the manifestations of their intertwined fates. What lay in the unfurling tapestry of knowledge, and were they prepared to confront the depths of their own souls as they sought out the heart of Solomon's secret wisdom? Eliab's breath caught in his throat as he felt the weight of Caleb's words settle around them, almost like a mantle they now wore. The room pulsed with an energy that was both invigorating and disquieting. Intrigued, he asked, "What do we truly know about Solomon's heart? Was his wisdom merely a product of the knowledge he amassed, or was it something woven into the very fabric of his being?" The question hung heavily in the air, and the others considered it with contemplative expressions. How could one man wield such deep understanding? Had he not faced temptations and trials, just as they did? Perhaps wisdom, Eliab reasoned, was not solely about the accumulation of facts, but about the journeys taken to attain them, the struggles, the triumphs, and the humility to learn from both. Caleb then turned back to the scroll. Let us not forget that Solomon's wisdom did not exist in a vacuum. Each choice he made was drenched in the complexities of his emotions and the responsibilities that laid upon him as a leader. What heavy toll does wisdom ask of its bearer? Every decision he made shaped his kingdom and tested his spirit, Azariah replied, his eyes alight with insight. But what if the secret wisdom we seek lies not only in Solomon's decisions but in the contrasts that surrounded him? The moments of joy, grief, and doubt. Perhaps it is a mosaic made not just of enlightenment, but of struggle. Eliab leaned forward, captivated. Might it be that understanding grows from embracing the tension between wisdom and folly? The queen arrived seeking answers, yet it was not just the answers she found, but also the questions she had yet to ask. The flickering candle cast shadows that mirrored their reflections, as each man grappled with the intricate layers of meaning unfolding within. Imagine, Caleb mused, if wisdom could serve as a bridge connecting the questions we leave unasked with the answers that have yet to be spoken. What if we dare to share our uncertainties, hoping to guide one another toward greater understanding? And therein lies our challenge, Eliab said, his mind racing against the backdrop of ancient tales. To create a space where bravery flourishes, where we can confront not just the wisdom we pursue but also the fears that silence us. How often have our own doubts restrained our ability to reach out, to inquire deeply? Azariah nodded knowingly. Perhaps every shadow cast upon our path is a reflection of the failure to engage with our fears. Solitude breeds silence, and silence often begets misunderstanding. It takes the courage of the heart to open dialogue and seek the wisdom that lies hidden in the stories of others. As the candle pulsed with renewed vigor, Eliab sensed they were on the cusp of something profound, but the pathway stretched uncertainly before them. How can we begin to unravel our own barriers? What steps must we take to turn inward and confront our shadows? Just as the sun breaks forth at dawn, illuminating all that lies in darkness, the winds outside rustled through the night, echoing their inner turmoil and touching the scroll as if nudging them forward. In that moment, their resolve deepened. Caleb stood, a fire igniting in his eyes. Let us commit ourselves to this case-stand exploration, not just of Solomon's wisdom, but as reflections of our own. May we become students and teachers, grappling with the very essence of inquiry itself. Eliab felt a rush of emotion surge within him, both vibrant and daunting. What wisdom awaited them in this intertwining of stories? And as they delved deeper into their own souls, would they emerge more enlightened, or would they confront deeper fears that could change everything they knew? The candle flickered in the wake of their reflections, casting a question into the space between them. That which they now began to seek was not merely the wisdom of Solomon, but the invitation to explore the depths of their own hearts. As the candle threw warm light across the scrolls, illuminating the words that carried timeless wisdom, Eliab felt the weight of the moment begin to settle upon him, not just as a seeker of Solomon's insights, but now as a vessel for his own transformative journey. The quest had morphed into something deeper, and as they prepared to explore beyond the ancient texts, a hush enveloped the room. Each man knew they stood at the crossroads of profound revelation. Eliab spoke, the tremor in his voice betraying the gravity of his thoughts. We must acknowledge that while Solomon's wisdom offered him great power, it also cast shadows upon his soul. He, too, fell victim to desires that led him astray. Can we learn from these missteps? What if true wisdom lies not in the accumulation of knowledge, but in the humility to learn from our own imperfections? A moment of shared understanding hung in the air, the flickering candle reflecting the undulating hopes and fears that danced between them. Azariah, ever vigilant, nodded in agreement. Our search for wisdom must be rooted in honesty with ourselves and with one another. To seek truth is to unveil not only the light but also the profound darkness that resides within. The scroll revealed more revelations as they continued to read, each verse a pathway inviting deeper introspection. As they ventured through tales of triumph and despair, they stumbled upon a significant passage that spoke of a pivotal moment in Solomon's reign, a time when his choices led not only to personal pleasure but also to the suffering of many. How can a man be wise, Eliab read, yet forget that his choices weave the fabric of many lives? What if this is the crux of our understanding? Caleb interjected, his presence powerful within the quiet room. The wisdom we seek encapsulates the awareness that our stories are not our own. We are part of a larger tapestry, woven together through our collective experiences. Solomon was not only a wise king but a bearer of the burdens created by his own decisions. A profound resonance filled the chamber, each man sensing the call to not just seek but to embody the lessons threaded throughout their legacies. Azariah leaned forward, urgency sparking in his eyes. Perhaps it is time we lay bare the truths we have hidden, to explore the pain and joys we each carry. If we are to embrace Solomon's wisdom, we must confront our shadows. As they shared their stories, tales of their own triumphs and failures, the revelations became a crucible of transformation. Eliab spoke of a moment in his past when ambition blurred his vision. I was blind to the consequences. My drive overshadowed the needs of my community, and it cost us dearly. The admission hung heavy in the air, an echo of vulnerability that seemed to connect their spirits. Caleb followed suit, sharing his own burden of regrets. I once wielded influence without considering the harmony of those around me. In pursuit of my desires, I neglected the very relationships that grounded me. As the stories flowed, vulnerability fostered a newfound strength among them, and the candlelight felt warmer, inviting. They turned back to the scroll, eyes hungry for insight, and read further. Wisdom cannot be hoarded, it must flow as freely as it comes, Eliab recited, realizing that this knowledge was not merely meant for them as individuals but as a community. What if our journey culminates not in self-aggrandizement but in collective awakening? What call serves not just the self but the divine mandate toward compassion and unity? Azariah pondered, fiery conviction marking his words. We can uplift each other, help guard against the shadows we each harbor, and with that, the atmosphere shifted. The air, once thick with uncertainty, became charged with a shared vision. They envisioned a community transformed, rooted in accountability and fueled by the sincere desire to listen and learn from each other's narratives. Imagine, Eliab mused, if we take the wisdom gleaned from Solomon's story and apply it as a guide for humility in our lives. Could we break the cycle of self-inflicted pain by fostering dialogue instead of dominance? Educating ourselves and others through our shared humanity. Gradually, the flickering candle burned brighter, its light reflecting the resolve that had blossomed among them. Let us carry forth what we've uncovered, Caleb said, determination coursing through him. As we realize the expansive nature of wisdom, so too must we realize the gravity of our choices. As if in answer, the light of the candle surged once more, illuminating a path ahead. Each man knew then that their journeys were interconnected, that in choosing to confront their own shadows, they offered illumination to those around them. The ripple effects would extend beyond their small gathering, poised to reach the heart of Jerusalem and beyond. Emboldened by their revelations, Eliab, Caleb, and Azariah united their voice and impassioned pledge to walk this path together, to seek wisdom not merely for themselves but as stewards of understanding in a world ripe with uncertainty. Their hearts aligned, and the shadows that once loomed impartially in the corners evaporated under the embrace of hope. As they extinguished the candle, a flicker remained, a testament to the new flame that had ignited within them. In choosing to embrace both the light and the darkness, they stepped into the fullness of their journey, recognizing that true wisdom is born not from perfection but from the courage to confront the truths which reside in the depths of their souls. They emerged transformed that night, ready to carry Solomon's legacy forward, a calling that transcended to me, a celestial invitation to shine bright against the vast unknown. With newfound purpose, they stepped out of the sacred chamber, their footsteps resonating with the pulse of life in Jerusalem, hearts entwined with the promise of a brighter future. The search for wisdom had just begun, but they no longer walked alone. As the dawn broke, illuminating the stones of the city, they knew that their collective journey would foster healing, lead to redemption, and foster the transformation of their people. In this promise lay the echo of faith, a call to reflection, awakening, and the continuous pursuit of a wisdom that would change everything for generations to come.